Hi, I'm Barb.
I'm Ed, and this is Carp Family Adventures.
Yes, it is.
So we're getting closer and closer to Panama. So today we're going to talk about a sea day, and then we did arrive in Panama and went to Fuerte, Amador is where we were docked, and we took a tour in Panama,
Yes.
Panama City, and the area around that, and the area around the canal.
Yes, and that was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Can't wait to share.
Yeah. So this is day 10 and 11. Day 10 was Monday, May 26th. And that was our sea day before Panama, between Costa Rica and Panama.
Mm-hmm.
So we started off Monday going to breakfast. And the ship was headed towards Panama, and we could see other ships
That's right.
headed towards Panama
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot in Costa Rica, and there were a lot that we saw on the way.
Yeah, that was pretty
Sailing.
neat, seeing
Yeah.
all the different ships.
Yeah, mostly big cargo ships.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
Most definitely.
And then in the morning on Monday, we went to the destination talk on the Panama Canal. So the destination expert.
Jess, I think is it? Was
Yeah,
it? Jess?
Jace, right?
Jace, sorry.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
No.
Yeah.
He did a really good talk about the history of the canal, but also like exactly how it works because.
Yeah, because that was that was very interesting.
Yeah,
to
it was
hear,
good
too.
to learn that and what would be happening. So, I mean, we'll talk about that as we get to the canal on the next video.
Next video, yes.
But we did do the destination talk and learned about the Panama Canal.
Mm-hmm.
We walked by the officers and guests doing a putting challenge in the plaza.
That's right.
So we just kind of walked by that and saw them
Yeah,
playing
because
that.
we did, I don't even know if we would have even gotten there early enough that we would have partaken
Oh,
in it.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Probably not, because I probably would have whacked something. Well, I think they're probably plastic balls, though. So
Yeah,
I
it's
probably
probably not
couldn't
too
have
hard.
done too much damage.
But I think then we were on our way to Mike Reese's next presentation, his lecture, and this one was on vacations, bad, weird, and dangerous. So these were the places he went. So he and his wife have gone to a lot of unusual places and dangerous places. So I do remember he talked about, well, he mentioned that they'd been to Antarctica several times, but then they wanted to see, as a result of that, they wanted to see the North Pole, which is much harder to get to and is not, on physical land. It's floating ice. So they did get to the North Pole on some kind of Russian nuclear icebreaker.
That's right, yeah.
So they eventually got there, and then he also talked about their trip to North Korea. So they did they did get permission to go with a group to visit North Korea, and he had some stories about that too. About
It's amazing, all the stuff they've done.
yeah, it is amazing. They'll go wherever they can.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
the hardest places to get to. And then one of his last stories was about the desert in, I think, Namibia, where they had New Year's. Remember, they wanted to celebrate New Year's in the middle of the desert for some reason.
That's right.
And they did, but the car that drove them out there, the battery died.
Because they noticed that the lights were on,
Yeah,
and they were like, wait, why are the lights on?
Yeah, so fortunately, eventually, after trying to get the car started and rolling it and stuff, they got a cell signal, and someone did come out and rescue them. So after Mike Reese's presentation, we went up to the lunch buffet, and Monday was Memorial Day, so I think they had American-themed stuff.
Well, it was
but
like
they
barbecue
usually have.
type. They had barbecue
right.
ribs, they had the hot dogs, they had the hamburgers.
Right, hot dogs and hamburgers.
And potato salad, I think, and
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it was good. And then I think most of the time we spent in our cabin, it was raining. So we got some pictures of the rain that was coming down.
Yeah, like I said, it's nice to see the rain because
Yeah.
we don't get a lot of rain at home, so
Yeah.
kind of enjoying it.
And it's been raining quite a bit on this trip. We're getting into the rainy season.
But we've been
here, so-
lucky, though, with the port.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. And you'll see Panama and Panama Canal were clear. It didn't rain when they thought it was going to rain, so that was good. And then we went up to dinner at the buffet. And we did see that they drained the pool, I guess because of the rain or something.
Was that what I thought they just put a net, but you saw
It was drained, yeah.
Okay.
I think you can see that it was drained, yeah. Although the next day it was full and people were
Yeah.
around it, so...
They've been, they were even swimming in the rain, though.
yeah, That's true. There
yeah.
are other times, yeah. So we after dinner we went down to Explorers Lounge and we did their movie poster trivia, which is one that we usually like to do. So, and fortunately, we got all of them right. We were one of 3 groups that got all of them right.
And it was nice that they were different. They weren't ones that we've seen before.
I don't think we've seen those before. We've seen some of the posters before.
Yeah, but never. The crazy part was, spoiler alert, when the graphic came up and what the trivia was going to be, they had little pictures of different movie posters.
Right.
So we were just sitting there because we were trying to kill the time. So we were all trying to like zoom in with our eyes, figuring out, well, that's that, whatever. And sure enough, I think every single one. All of them were
like
on.
8 of them.
Yeah,
and those were 8 of the questions.
And we knew all 8 of them.
They were
that's
pretty
funny.
easy to identify. Yeah.
Patch Adams.
Yeah, Patch Adams.
Yeah.
And then 3, like I said, 3 teams got perfect scores. She had a tiebreaker question, but she showed the answer with the tiebreaker, so she didn't have a second tiebreaker. So they just gave all of us prizes.
Yeah,
so
that's really hard too. When if it was the tiebreaker one, you had to. What was it? The gross amount that Avatar made
internationally.
Ooh, I mean, that's
Yeah, so it was. You would just be guessing. So, well, yeah, it was 2.92 billion. So, anyway, So after that was the Liars Club game show, where they
that's right,
the
with
3
the
activity staff.
Yeah, and they had to guess the definition.
Yeah, definitions, and this time it was 3 words that we hadn't heard before. So that was kind of fun.
But kind of the same stories.
They give the same
kind of the same stories.
Jokes.
Yeah, whatever. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, but that was fun. Liars Club.
I always enjoy that one.
Yeah, and then we were done. We went back to the cabin because we would have to get up fairly early for our Panama tour.
Yes, because I think we had to meet in one of the dining rooms at 7:30 in the morning. So we just wanted to make sure we got up, got breakfast, did what we needed to do, and get there in time. And we were really early this time, but then ended up.
Then we just waited because, so we did get up at 6 and go to breakfast and then go down to the dining room to wait for our tours. A lot of people ended up waiting because Panama is different from other countries. They require you to bring your passport on land, and they do kind of an immigration check. They identify you. Every person goes through and shows their passport and gets their passport stamped, which was good.
And I think some people didn't realize that they had to have their passports, they had to go back. But Princess, I thought, was pretty good because it was posted, I thought, throughout.
Oh, they did everything they could
announced it,
to tell us that, but some people didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So we had our passports and they got stamped. But the cruise terminal is brand new. Just opened at the end of 2024, I think they said. So we waited a long time in line there, and it was very humid, and it was pretty hot. It was in the 80s, and the humidity was also in the 80s. But
it wasn't like a regular gangway, as opposed when you get off in different ports. But the bigger ports like San Pedro, other ones that have San Francisco, the gangway that zigzags, then it's enclosed.
Yeah.
And it moves. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was.
But the traditional one, not just like you roll the plank out and kind of have to walk out. It was a massive. So everybody was kind of walking on it and walking. It was a long line, and then you had to walk a longer line down to the actual inside of the port where they did the stamping.
Right. Yeah. So it was long and hot, but it wasn't really that. I mean, it wasn't like we were standing in line for an hour or anything.
Well, no, because we got lucky, because once we got out, they flagged us over because I was my scooter. So we went to the front of the line, which, again, I don't like to do that, but I guess they wanted it because I was on the scooter. And we waited, for 2 people in front of us? And then we went.
And then we got ours.
And yay, we got a stamp on our passports.
Yeah,
that was exciting.
The first stamps in our passports.
But as soon as they stamped my passport, all the people that were behind us came behind us, and I guess Princess talked to the port people and said it's not working, so they just let everybody go.
Yeah.
So, because it was about an hour late for our tours, wouldn't you say? Half an hour to an hour?
Yeah, something like that.
Something crazy like that. Yeah.
So we did go down and go across the street to the bus, and the terminal also is far away, pretty far away. It's a couple miles along a bridge basically to the mainland, although there are restaurants and stuff in the area.
It's not a port where you could just get off and look around at gift shops.
Yeah,
I mean, there's something not too terribly far, but I don't know if that's something like really you want to walk to.
Yeah.
But you'd have to get a taxi to go places.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. So our bus ride took a little way. So our tour was first to the viewing center for the locks of the old locks of the Panama Canal, and then the second part was walking toward the old town of Panama City. So, which is the second oldest city in Panama.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, but on the bus ride we passed the Frank Gehry designed museum.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to stop.
We didn't stop at that, but it looked nice. Then we also passed through town, and we saw the administration building for the Panama Canal, which was interesting. They built it. It's up on a hill, and the stairway up there is exactly the height of that boats and ships are lifted to get through the canal, so 85 feet up. So the steps is an 85-foot stairway.
It's pretty amazing. And then right across from that, because we went through the middle, they have the trees lined up to show you the width of the Panama Canal.
Of the canal locks, yeah.
Yeah, the locks.
Yeah, so you could see how big that was too.
Yep.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, it didn't seem that big.
No.
And you're like,
it's not
our
huge.
ship, I know. Well, of course it's not, but you're like, it's weird because if you think you're sitting in your stateroom and then you look across and then you know, if you double that up, it still doesn't seem, I don't know, it didn't seem like it was that wide.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And so then we almost reached the locks. It was interesting so that across from the visitor center for the Miraflores locks, which are the first locks on the Pacific side, there was the old Army base when the U.S. Ran the canal zone, the largest Army base in Panama, and now it turned into what the city of knowledge with universities and stuff. Yeah, I mean it's old buildings and stuff, but there's a lot of space.
But they're still using it.
Yeah, and they're using it, and seem to be using it for a good purpose. So then we turned past there, got to the visitor center for the locks, and the first thing that we did was walk into the IMAX movie theater. To see the movie, the 3D IMAX 3D movie, narrated by Morgan Freeman, which they advertise heavily. Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, they do, because there's a big old poster outside with his picture.
Yeah, huge poster with Morgan Freeman on it.
Yeah.
And the movie was pretty good. The 3D was good. It was basically used for seeing the helicopter shots and stuff, and of the locks and the ships and stuff. And so it was good. The movie itself was a little disjointed because it had a lot of things to do. It needed to advertise Panama, also show the history, and also show how the locks worked. And it did a good job of all those, but it jumped back and forth.
And it was about 45 minutes
Yeah,
long, I think
something
it was.
like that. But it had really good 3D helicopter shots of ships going through the canal and illustrations of how the canals work. And all that. So it was good. It was worth it. And then after the movie, we went through the gift shop.
So you went over to the viewing center.
Well, we went over to the viewing center first, but we were there around. Well, our visit to that area ended at 11, so we were there around 10:30, and the last ship to move through those locks in the morning had been done at 8. So
which was a shame.
Yeah, we didn't see any ships then go through the locks. Normally, they said they run from midnight to about noon.
Yeah.
But in that direction, and then in the afternoon they'll go in the other direction. But they didn't have any more ships, so we didn't see any ships. But we did see the locks, so that was good. Yeah. But they weren't operating.
And you were able to go to the top of the viewing. Yeah. I think didn't you go all the way up? Yeah. Okay. I stayed below because it was only stairs. So, but they are it's the new viewing center, right? Is under construction.
Yeah,
they're doing redoing it or making a new one.
Yeah. So next year probably it'll be different, a little different. Maybe.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. Then we got back on the bus and drove again through Panama City.
Which was also nice too. When we got back on the bus, they gave us water again.
Yeah,
that's been really nice.
They
gave everybody nice cold bottles of water.
Yeah. So we were driving to the Casco Antiguo, which is also known as the Casco Viejo, the
not
old
the
part of
market.
town, old city.
Just kidding.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, Panama City is interesting because when you see it from the ship, it's all these modern skyscrapers that are very narrow and very tall.
Yeah.
As we drove through the city, though, I mean, he pointed out the
ghetto.
The ghetto, yeah.
The ghetto.
Anyway, it was obviously slums. And unfortunately, I mean, like a lot of cities, Panama City has these slums that are just seem to be crumbling right next to these buildings that are really well, like modern buildings. One of them even had a zip line from one part of the building to another for entertainment. So there's a lot of money in Panama because of the cost of the shipping. Pays them a lot of money to go through the canals, but
they figure it out, make it work for them for where they're living. But they're the older development.
Yeah.
But I was just saying, if there was like a massive earthquake or something, it just looks like everything would crumble. But like you said, it's been there for so long, so many years that...
Yeah, like especially the old town. So we went to the Old Town Plaza. Well,
that's referring to the older...
Oh, right. Yeah,
exactly. The older stuff.
Yeah, so we started in a park and then walked to the square of the old town, which had a gazebo and a bandstand in the middle.
Yeah.
And there was a big cathedral on one side with bell towers and statues of saints out on the...
And they had stained glass inside.
Stained glass and a big organ inside, apparently, but we didn't go inside.
We didn't go inside.
Because it wasn't very accessible. I don't know if you would have...
Yeah, I'll talk about that at the end.
Okay. So for our tour, they gave us a lot of time for shopping.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit too much.
Yeah, too much time for shopping. We didn't really see much of the old town. I mean, we saw some hotels and a museum. And we went in one of the hotels, and I did, and there was a gallery. And it was interesting. One of the last things the guide showed us was another church, not the big cathedral, but a smaller church off to the side, that in the back and down a few, like 6 stairs, there was this room that was full of a nativity scene. Apparently the biggest nativity scene in Panama, he said. And it was very big, like L-shaped, and filled basically a room the size of a big classroom.
Yeah, because you did go in there
to
see it.
Yeah, so there's video
and lots
of
of air conditioning
very
in there.
Very nice, yeah. And yeah, the church was air conditioned, so that was good too. So we had two opportunities for shopping. Yep. And then we got back on the bus. It was very hot there and very humid.
Yeah, because the second part of the shopping was they left us for half an hour.
Yeah.
But there's not really much where we were left to, like, the area where we were to actually do any shopping. So.
Right. So we got back on the bus and drove back to the cruise terminal.
Yes.
Which didn't take too long. We got back on the ship. That didn't take long either. We quickly. I bought a T-shirt.
Yeah, they had I think like 2 little stalls.
Yeah.
They just.
Yeah, and they were duty free too, which is good.
Yeah, you got a T-shirt that was pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Because you also bought one in the IMAX area.
Right. At the gift shop.
That gift shop was really nice.
That was nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
That whole building was nice.
Yeah.
We got back on the ship. We went up to lunch at the buffet.
Just pretty crowded.
Yeah. And then eventually we departed the port, but basically we were just sailing out of the terminal and then out into the bay
to wait our
where
turn.
the Panama Canal entrance is just on the other side of these hills. And we were just waiting our turn along with a lot of other ships.
Yeah.
We did see, I don't think I got good footage of it, but the Silver Sea Origin, which is a ship built for the Galapagos tours. A very small cruise ship was in port next to us.
That's why I think you said that.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
It was dark, but it was really nice. There was a sunset was really nice, especially with all the ships and their lights on and stuff like that. The sun going down, and the sun going down in the west, which is interesting because it was we were looking past the Panama Canal to the sun going down on the west.
Oh, that's right.
Because the Panama Canal, the way we go through it from the Pacific to the Atlantic, is from the southeast to the northwest. So we were on the eastern side basically of the canal, going toward the western side, which is the Atlantic, is on the western side, just because of the way Panama
Say that
is
again.
laid out. Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. So that was sunset, and then we went to dinner at the buffet.
Surprise, surprise.
And then,
Yeah.
as usual, we went down to the Explorers Lounge, and the first game show they had. Oh, actually, I didn't. I was feeling tired, so I stayed in the cabin. But Barb went down.
I went.
So
why not?
you went to the Explorers Lounge, and you did the 10 in 60. Is that what it's called?
Yes, 10 and 16. Basically, what it was, each team got a sheet of paper. I think we did 8 rounds, and you had to. They would give you a question, and name all the Disney princesses, like. Not all of them, but you have to name the top 10, I guess. But you have to guess what the cruise staff picked.
Oh.
And then you had to write them down. You had 60 seconds to write them down. And so you didn't have to write them in the exact order they did, but if you had them on your sheet, then, you know, you got a point. So that was interesting. It was fun. And then another one was what states borders, I guess what borders Canada. And a couple of the ones that the cruise staff had were not
even accurate.
So it was pretty funny, but you know, it was good.
Yeah.
I had a good time. They always, you know.
Yeah, it's always fun.
It's always
Even
fun
when
with
it's
them.
just silly,
Yeah, it was just silly, just being there.
And then you did True or Moo, right? But it was different
yeah,
from last
yeah. This
time
time it was different. When we've done it before, and we've done it showed it in our video. It's usually where they do the line across the middle of the stage area or the front of the stage.
Yeah.
And they would ask a question, and if you thought it was true, you would go to the left. You thought it was false, you would say moo and go to the right. But this time they took sign-ups, and they picked people, and you would just go up on stage, and they got through. I think it was quite a bit, more than 10, I think.
Wow.
That they had go up there, and you had to wear this hat. I don't know.
Was it the cow?
There was a
thing
cow hat that
Yeah.
the ear, or I don't know. It was pretty funny. So,
Yeah.
but Robin won.
That's good.
And then Bob and Rick went up there, but they didn't win.
Yeah.
So, but it was fun watching.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And then I think after that it was karaoke, and
What
Bob
about-
got up.
Did you do the ABBA trivia? Or no?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just yeah,
And we did all right on that too. I mean, it was just hard trying to remember titles of songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think the first question was name all 4 of the ABBA.
Oh.
So we were trying to remember. We kind of were thinking of the 2, but then there was a question later that said the 2 guys. I can't remember. Yeah.
So
they
you
said something or whatever. So I said, quick, there's 2 of the names there. So we wrote that down. But those are kind of the names we were thinking of before, anyways.
yeah.
But yeah, so it was good. And then it was karaoke. Yeah, Bob got up and sang the quickest song I think he's ever sung. I don't know. I don't know if it was the right. It wasn't the right length. So,
Okay.
but it was good. He's always good to see him. And
Yeah, he's a
hear
good
him.
singer.
Yeah. So.
Okay. And then I guess that was it. Came back and went
Yeah, you
to
were
bed.
asleep
Yeah, I was
already when I
sleeping.
came back.
And
Yeah.
and then the next day is the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
So that'll be our next video. We'll do the canal in one video probably.
And then I just want to do a quick. I just want to for our excursion. It really wasn't kind of listed. That the only thing usually when you look into an excursion, for us for sure, we want to see, and other people I'm sure, to make sure we're able to do it. And we went to the excursion desk, but I guess maybe they hadn't been on that particular
maybe
excursion,
not.
so I don't know. But the only thing was listed was a couple steps and cobblestones.
Right.
And so cobblestones are fine.
Right.
A couple steps are okay. But I didn't realize when we went, I couldn't use my scooter at the IMAX, which would have been helpful.
Right.
Because there was a long line. It was a little narrow, a little crazy.
And you had to go up 3 floors, which is okay with an elevator, but you couldn't get to it would be hard to get to the elevator.
Yeah, and that's I made it work because I was having a little bit of a flare up that day, so I was having a little, I don't know, I needed my scooter a little more than I normally would.
Yeah.
And then the next part when we went to the old town, I guess what people do if they're in scooters, or he called it a stroller, which that's okay because it's just different, our languages or whatever. But it was cute. I thought it was cute, anyways. I had to go in the street the whole time, and I didn't really feel comfortable, but that was the only way to get around. And then and nothing against the excursion itself on that aspect. I couldn't really go into a lot of the places, which is to be expected because it's an older town and stuff like that, which I understood. That's okay, but it was just I didn't really feel comfortable in riding my scooter in the street, and it's very populated with a lot of traffic. So, but I survived and everything was okay. But it's just a warning if you're going to book it. I don't remember the name of it, but if you come to the Panama Canal and you have I don't even. I mean.
Yeah, just in the old town, it's difficult, and they should put a more warning on the tour description because it didn't really say anything, and there weren't any cobblestones. There was some brick paving, but that wasn't the problem. And
I'm not upset either. I'm just I want to let anybody that sees our video that's thinking of doing that particular excursion just be aware that sometimes Princess, if they haven't been on it, they don't know. So. Again, I'm not mad at them. It's just but just for future, that would be so. Okay, and we're fine.
Learned so.
Yeah, and then another thing I want to do a quick shout out because I totally forgot. Well, I didn't really forget, but anyways, happy belated birthday to Miss Rachel. It was her birthday on the 25th, and then Miss Bernie, hers is on the 28th. So happy birthday to Bernie. Yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Sorry if we put you to sleep. That's our mission. Just kidding.
But you definitely have to watch the next one because that's the canal.
Oh yeah, that was pretty amazing. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to subscribe, that would be great. Or hit a like. That would be nice too. All right, take care. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.